Google Plus.
Google Plus.
Okay.
Google Plus. Gotcha.
All right. So welcome to day number 3 of our Google Apps, Google Plus introductory program. And the key thing to know or remember is we are not teaching you to be experts at Google Plus. We're introducing you to Google Plus or whatever the Google app is, and it's your responsibility to learn it. But this is the opportunity to get introduced to it and get started on the right track. The best way to learn it is to use it. Because if you don't use it, you're going to what?
Lose it.
Lose it, right. You're going to lose it. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Ed. How are you today?
Well, is the sun shining in California?
It's trying to come out a little bit. We're got a little bit of an overcast. It usually burns off about 11 to 12.
Okay, so it's not sunny outside here, right?
No, it's
No,
very
it's
nice
very
here.
cool outside.
It seemed kind of humid to me.
That's good.
It's kind of cool.
Okay,
Seems like the bay outside.
seems like the bay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, great. So we're going to get started today with day 3. And what is it we're learning on day 3? Hangouts.
Yeah.
Okay, so Google, so Google Plus, we consider to be one of the what? One of the eight Google apps that we do. Recognizing that Chrome isn't really a Google app, it's a what?
Browser.
Browser, right. It's a browser. What, Deshaun? Okay, it does search. And the search part of the browser, Google search, is an app. But Chrome is not an app. Chrome is a what? Browser, right. What are some other browsers?
Internet Explorer.
The doorway to the cloud, right. But what, Dennis?
No, you said a browser, other browsers like Internet Explorer and so
Yeah,
forth.
Internet Explorer, what else?
One student said Safari.
Safari, what else? Firefox. Okay, so there are a number of browsers. Chrome isn't really a browser. I mean, Chrome isn't really an app, but we consider it an app. Hangouts, we don't consider an app. What do we consider Hangouts? It is a piece inside. We consider it a sub-app. Okay, what's another sub-app of Google Plus? Community. What's another sub-app? No, we don't consider that a sub-app. What do we do on Monday? What do we do on Monday in Google Plus? Circles, right. Circles. So for our purposes, Circles, Communities, and Hangouts are sub-apps of Google Plus. And in Hangouts, how many types of Hangouts are there?
There's a few. I'll see.
This is the easy part, people. What are the 2?
Just hang out on air.
I see video and messages.
Okay, so thank you for playing, but you're now out.
Public.
There are 3.
Yeah. There's messaging, video, and what?
3 hangouts?
No.
No.
Okay, so Hangouts have 3 types. There's text,
It's text.
right?
Text.
There's voice, which can also have video on it.
Yeah.
Okay? And then there is a Hangout on Air. What the hell is that? Anybody ever seen a Hangout on Air?
Yes, we
Yeah, every
on
day.
air right now.
Yes, we're doing one right now. We do one every day at 10 o'clock.
Sorry. What's the messaging text?
Well, technically, not technically a lot, but for our purposes, nothing.
That's my own association. I have to deal with them people all the time.
One right there.
Which one? Text.
Oh.
First one, text, voice, and then HOA.
Yes. Maybe. Center of the screen. Okay. So we do a Hangout on air, and text, the text version, what's so good about that? Yeah, you don't need to have a phone. If your phone is connected to your Google Plus account, your Gmail account, you have it set up, you'll get a text message that you type on your keyboard on your phone. So a lot of times when people in here are texting back and forth or sending SMS messages and you hear my phone ding, that's because you included me in your thing, in your group. So I will see things like, what's up? Hey, how are you? I'm good. Okay. The good part, see, for example, you don't have to be in the same room. So often I, in the last 2 days, would be getting SMS messages, Hangout messages from Sherry. Simple thing comes up. She sends me a little message. The thing pops up. Yeah.
So, SMD message is another terminology for text.
SMS.
SMS, another
Yeah.
terminology for text.
Yeah, I think that stands for what? Short message service. Do you know, Will? SMS.
I'm not sure what you got.
I don't know what the last S is, but I think it's short message system, maybe service. Anyway, it's like texting, but texting people basically do from their phone, right? Instead of a call. Short message service. So once again. So the good thing about it is if you are at work, that's a feature that you should use often communicating with coworkers. It's a lot easier than picking up your phone and texting them. It's a lot easier than calling them. It's not as easy as just standing up saying, hey, you. But oftentimes it's more productive because you can keep your fingers on the keyboard and mouse. Okay, that's the basic thing there. And one of the benefits is if you have your Gmail set up right, all of your text messages, these SMS messages, will go in your all mail in your in Gmail. So you've got a very convenient record of all of these things. And those can be copied and forwarded easily through email or Google Plus. So if you own a business and you have your employees doing things, it's always good to have a record of what they're doing. All right, so that's text. So the other thing that I'm calling voice is, let me share my screen. How do we get to it? Okay, so here's my screen. So Rachel's saying up over here. So it's on, and then if you have it properly configured, what shows up on your screen? On the right side. These are sort of like your address book. These are people who you can just easily send a message to. Okay, now what if I want to send a message to Rob Felton? Well, I could do that, or I could. So now, when the box pops up, I have a very quick thing that I can video call, I can add someone else, I can call them on the phone or I can send them a text message. So that's pretty cool, right? So right there at the tip of my fingers, I have the ability to do this. Okay, I'm not really going to send something to Rob, but if I wanted to, that's what I would do. Let's say Keith. Okay. So I just sent Keith a message. So Hangouts is a thing that you should get comfortable with and use all the time because it's so convenient. And then again, when you do it, your address book is basically right over here. And it has the date, or not the date, but the when this occurred. So I just sent something to Keith, yesterday Scally, Sherry, and it's just an easy way to keep track of all of your communications with these people. So let's see, why don't we do an exercise? And everybody send a text message to the person to your left. You're on the left side, you have to send it to the person all the way at the other end. Okay, so that means Ernie sends it to Tom. And Theo, you have to send it to Phyllis. And Phyllis will send it to you. Okay? And then Robert sends it to Michael. Michael sends it to Robert. Yeah.
Ernesto, I never had it. I had to send him an invite. I got a screen that popped up, and until he accepts the invite, it won't allow him to.
Try clicking on SMS.
You haven't sent him a.
They hang out. But I clicked on his name.
On his name.
I had a screen pop up for me. Or now I can. He just had to accept.
If I send him something, I won't because okay, I'll give it to my team like you said, right? And
Okay, so how are you doing in California, Dennis?
Good.
Okay, everybody's able to do it?
You guys okay with that?
I'm okay. You know what to go?
Huh?
I think Tony has been set up.
You said Tony? Oh, okay.
I send it to myself.
Oh,
yeah.
You see it? You put a photo of voice and the little
Right here, click on that. Okay, right here, click on search. Okay, click this right here, search. Okay, and then it's coming up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, can I send a message to a group of people?
you should have an icon with point, with a point. It's a turquoise and the point is in a point. Invoice.
okay.
I have I'm on board.
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
don't have
Okay, so now what do you think about being able to send it to a group of people?
Okay.
voice.
Bueller? Bueller? Huh? Yeah. Right. So everybody can see everybody else's, right? Huh?
Only doesn't have a setup Google Voice, right?
That's the key. You can all be in communication at one time, and you don't have to be in the same place. Okay, so did anybody see getting a message from me? Okay.
It's weird. I ain't proper line right there. That ain't Gina Thomas. Hey,
Hello, California student.
Yeah.
oh yeah, you said I love you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hold on, we go. Okay, vamos a Sean's. I got to. I go. Okay. Okay, let me hit. Click here. Put up the D. That's all the W. That is. Okay. TA. Okay. I click on here, right? Right here, right? When hit enter. Oh, that's right. I hit enter.
Because you click it again. I'll click yes.
I'll click yes.
Okay. Now, can you put emoticons in these things? Yeah. So, way back when the head of the FCC several years ago was shown Google Voice, he said, "This is the end of telecommunications as we know it. Basic telephone stuff is obsolete. Hangouts, basic telephone stuff is obsolete. You don't need to have a phone anymore. You need to have a cell phone. You need to have a cell phone." And Tom said, "What? Yes." Why do you say that? Tom's bored. What? Huh?
That's your inner kid, man. No, because I'm standing here.
Okay, well, if you have any access to the internet,
Is that you? Are you logged on to yours or?
you get a phone number from Google free. You don't need,
No, you now?
today you don't need to have a phone.
Oh, I said, there's a phone.
It's a thing that makes life easier, but if you have internet at your house, you don't need to have a phone at your house because people can call you on what? Using your what? Your Google number, voice number. Right? And it's getting more and more common wherever you go to do that. When I do Hangouts on air at restaurants, rarely do I have to use my phone because all of these places have internet access. They all have a guest. And it's just going to keep getting better. What? So in the future, as bandwidth gets better and more coverage, you're not going to need to have a phone. Nobody's going to need to have a phone number or a service with the phone company, unless you're in a place where there is no internet. The internet is getting everywhere, and it's getting faster.
Guadalupe, what's your email address? LBC dot Guadalupe dot 52615. Oh, that's 2.
Cars, automobiles are now becoming equipped with Wi-Fi.
526, right? Yes. 15. 52615.
So, are you going to need your cell phone when your car has internet? No. Google has an initiative in places where they don't have cable going, and you can't put in antennas because they're expensive or hard to get to. Let's say in the Amazon or in the Sahara Desert, it's too hard and too expensive to run and install poles that have cable or towers and have power for repeaters for wireless. So they have an initiative to put large balloons, just have large balloons up there that are wireless, not satellite, they're balloons up in the sky. They're calling them balloons.
UFOs?
Huh?
UFOs?
Nope, they're just calling them balloons. They're helium balloons. And they're might be attached to the ground with a cable. But what they do is they are wireless repeaters. So they receive and send back wireless. So if you're in the middle of nowhere, it's too expensive, a really poor country, they don't have the ability, mountainous, jungles, whatever, they don't have the ability to build towers that go way above. Because if you want to put in a tower, what do you have to do? Tower in the middle of the jungle, what do you have to do?
Go above the ground.
Yeah, but what do you have to do to build the tower above the ground? What do you have to do to dig the hole? To dig the hole, what do you have to do? You have to have equipment. You got to drive in these trucks to dig these big holes and bring in cement and do all kinds of stuff. And then you have to have power. Because you can't just put a tower with no power.
Voice number. You should have gotten a message from them. You just didn't accept them.
It's hard.
And have a Google Voice
But if
number.
you have a balloon,
That's why you have to do it from.
a helium balloon, you just need to bring in a helium tank in your balloon and the other equipment, launch it up there,
Right.
and make sure it has power, and then you've got internet. So that's an initiative that they're doing. So the point is, Wi-Fi is becoming more and more popular. Remember from Dan Gilbert last week when he was talking about we tend to think that the way things are now is the way they're always going to be. We look back to the past and say, wow, it's really changed in the last 10 years, but we don't see they're going to change even more in the next 10 years. 10 years ago, what did a cell phone look like? No, not 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was really small. Does anybody remember Zoolander? How big was his cell phone? It was like this big. Okay? People were thinking phones were going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it would just be you'd have an earpiece.
Until they got.
Then what happened? What wasn't the video, it was the technology for a screen got to be cheap enough that you could put a big screen on a phone. All of a sudden, cell phones got big again. And now they keep getting bigger, right? Because you want a larger and larger screen.
Okay, good.
But, 10 years ago, iPhones didn't exist. There were no iPhones in 2005. They were about 2 years away.
Right.
Nobody had an iPhone. Nobody had a large screen. Does any of you remember when iPhones first came out? How it was a big deal? Or for some people saying, it'll never catch on. They don't have enough stuff. It's too big. Nobody's going to want to hold something that big. How big is an iPhone compared to phones today? Small. What was it last year? Apple finally increased their thing to be, the biggest phone I think is about this size. Android didn't even have phones. 10 years ago. There were no Android phones. I was at camp when Android first came out.
Where do you go to get in there?
So if we say
The Hangouts?
phones have changed in the last 10 years Your phone that changed like that.
Oh, click on here.
That was good, man. That was funny. We could change too. We wouldn't have time to fix that. We change it.
Came out in 2007. And this is where they are now in terms of what they do. What is it going to look like in 2020? We have a tendency to think 2020 is going to be the same as it is right now. What did Dan Gilbert say? Dan Gilbert says in 2020 we're going to look back to 2015 and say, wow, things really changed. Things have really changed. So we need to be thinking about that. And so this is kind of a pitch for Google Hangouts, is you should embrace and adopt Hangouts and use it more and more, because it's more likely that Hangouts are going to be, Hangout type technology is going to be the standard 5 years from now. Telephones are going to become obsolete. Having a phone number that works through AT&T, Verizon, that technology is going to be less and less good, because what can you do with it? What can you do with it? T-Mobile. What can you do? You can make phone calls, voice calls. That's all you can do. The internet part is not the phone part. The internet part of a cell phone is going to continue, but the standard old part, the stuff you did in 2005, is going to be completely obsolete. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So like your phone now has a setting, you can make your calls by Wi-Fi only, right? Android phones, you can do Wi-Fi only, phone only, or whatever's better. Wi-Fi is available, it'll do Wi-Fi calls, otherwise it'll do whatever you set.
Yeah.
So in the future, it's going to, looking ahead 5 years, it's going to be a lot different than it is today, but Hangouts are going to be very common. Typing is still going to be very important. Well, you'll have a device, but the phone part, the part of Verizon that 5 years ago was the only part of Verizon, or T-Mobile, or AT&T, going back to cell phones of 20 years ago that had no internet connectivity, that will become obsolete.
So pretty much going to be tablets now.
Well, that's the question, is are they going to keep getting larger? The idea of the phablet, what's a phablet? It was the combination phone-tablet. It was the size of a tablet, but it was really a phone. That didn't take off.
No.
People didn't want to have this big thing the size of a small tablet. They didn't want to carry that around. That wasn't a success. And so typing is always going to be around for the foreseeable future. Voice is going to get a lot better. Why doesn't the voice work right now?
I don't see it. Oh, yeah.
Why is it?
Yes. Antonio replied back. Let me reply.
Okay, so the problem with voice is the microphone picks up echoes that we don't hear. So if you have a microphone trying to do voice recognition, it's able to pick up the sound bouncing off that wall of when I'm talking. That's why voice technology doesn't work. It picks up all of the noise. Not like our brains have the ability to shut out other sounds. Computer audio stuff is not that good. Voice recognition is not that good. But one day in the future, in the far off future, maybe in 10 or 15 years, when your phone gets used to just listening to you all the time, it's like a little baby. You know, how do they learn to speak and talk and recognize their parents' voice? Because you hear it all the time. Their connectome is configured to do that automatically. At some point, computers will be able to do that, and then voice recognition will work. Yeah, but it's not, you have to, it's a step towards it, that's right. Yeah, yeah. It wants to start recognizing your way you say things. Sure, that will continue to get better and better and better as processing power improves. And by 2020, it's going to be a lot different than it is today. Now is the time to get ready for it. But when 2020 occurs, you'll be an expert, and everybody else will be wondering what's going on. Here's a way to think about that. So, Dennis,
Yes, it.
what are the 3 types of people in the world?
The 3 types of people?
Yeah.
Working, non-working. one student said working, non-working. No.
Okay. There's people who make things happen.
People that watch things happen.
No. People that make things happen. Yeah, people who watch things happen.
Right.
Who watch things happen. And people who what?
Wait. Make things happen, watch things happen.
People who wonder what happened.
Wonder what happened. Okay. Make, watch, and wonder.
Okay. You don't want to be somebody who wondered what happened.
That's something you should write in your little.
Yeah, that's what I'm writing down now.
Okay.
The 3 things, 3 types of people.
You don't really want to be the second group. Here, you have the opportunity to get ahead of the curve and make things happen.
So we want to be
like when Nolan Bushnell was here, he said this is one of those points in time where other people don't have an advantage. 5 years ago, people who knew Microsoft Office had an advantage over you who didn't know Microsoft Office and just learned it. You went to school and you learned Microsoft Office, you would be at a disadvantage to people who've been doing it for 10 years. Why?
And then people that wonder what happened.
Well, yeah, they've been doing it for 10 years. You've been doing it for 10 days or 10 weeks. They're going to be a lot better. When they go in for a job interview and somebody says, do you know Microsoft Office? Oh, yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. Versus, yeah, I just got out of Larson. I just learned it.
I'm sorry, what?
Now, as Nolan Bushnell said, because of the cloud, everybody's on the same field. We have an advantage, though, because those people are not learning the cloud. If you learn the cloud, you're at the same place as everybody else because it's new. You're not going to go into a job interview and have somebody say, you know, the interviewer says, do you know the cloud? 0.0 people, not percentage, people are going to be able to say, yeah, I've been using it for 10 years. Nobody's going to be able to say that. You know, maybe they're going to be able to say 3 years. But those people probably aren't looking for a job because they have a valuable skill. So right now, everybody's starting out equal. If you learn the cloud, we have an advantage. YouTube is another huge thing because with the cloud, video can now, every business can now create all kinds of work stuff, sales stuff, operational stuff, administrative stuff, customer service videos, all kinds of videos. And with Google Forms, what else can we put along with the video?
Form? Oh,
Exactly.
that's the form.
So you can have a training video that's part of a Google form, right? So how would that work, Thomas?
Have a checklist on your video.
Okay, so let's say it starts like this. You get an email from your employer that says, we're just improved the way we make Hetza-Petzas. Here's a video. You click on the link, but where does the link take you? No, it takes you to what? To the form. Now what do you have to do on the form? You start answering, filling out the form, right? And then maybe question number 8 has a link in there to what? To the video. Okay? And then what happens after that?
You watch the video.
And answer questions, right? And then what happens when you're done? You submit. What happens when you submit?
Another
Employer
form
gets
that
it.
you get.
Okay? Now your employer gets the spreadsheet that has how everybody did, right? And they can use an add-on called what? Anybody remember? Subaru. And that will automatically do what? Grade all of the things, how everybody did. Like that. And then what?
You need a promotion.
They can see whether people passed the test and who passed the test better and who did what. So it's not only easy to make training videos, you can now capture data on your employees of when did they do it, because it's automatically time-stamped, right? Every time you hit submit, it says exactly what time you submitted that. So if somebody says, I need it by 10 o'clock, if you sent it after 10, what are they going to know? They're going to know you sent it after 10, okay? And they're going to have your answers right there, and everything is going to be good. So yesterday I talked to Lieutenant Scally about how our tests are done, and he was blown away. He said, you have better information records on how everybody's doing than any other school. I think not better than UNLV, because they do their system is like this too, using Google as a thing. But businesses don't do this. They can. They can do it if their employees know how to do YouTube and how to create forms. It's easily done. So we have a big, big advantage. So this is the opportunity to be the kind of people who make things happen. You have to be able to articulate it in your interview, and you have to be able to demonstrate that you know how to do it, which means when we go through this, it's not just sitting here passively participating. You need to actively participate and then go back and do it, because you're going to forget 70% of what we do today. Now, we've got about 8 minutes left to talk about Hangouts on Air, which is really the greatest type of Hangout. Why?
What?
My fingers are not on the keyboard. Okay. Hangouts on Air are the easiest way to get something on YouTube. You create a Hangout on Air, it automatically posts on YouTube. You don't have to create a video and then upload it. Your video is automatically uploaded. Plus, it's live. So you can do things live with anybody in the world participating. It's automatically saved on YouTube. So it's a great way to start building a library. We use it every day, right? We use it here every day, 4 days a week. And that means our library is automatically expanded every single day. if we had to shoot the video, like in the old days, you shoot the video and somebody has to get the video and they have to upload it to YouTube, it wouldn't happen every day because people get busy and they forget and they fall behind and all of these things happen, and it's just not easy to do that. So a Hangout on air is a thing you should do. Now, what's one of the seeming disadvantages of a Hangout on air? Nope. Okay. The biggest apparent negative with the Hangout on air is the trade-off with Google is that it has to be available to the public when you do it. So that could mean who's watching. Somebody you don't want to watch it.
You can just make it
Okay?
I see on
private,
this,
right?
on this though, it's awesome. You can just
For the public, just make it private.
just only to do it like South City.
On the
Well,
air.
you can do it to those people. Now, maybe Google has changed it, but last year you could not delete public.
Okay.
You could add specific circles of people, but you could not delete public.
It's giving me the option under audience to pick my circle under public, so I don't.
Okay, well, can you delete the public? So it used to be that you could not take public off. But once the video is done, you go in and you change it from public to private.
Like it's Chuck City and public.
Yeah, okay? So that has been the trade-off. And what that does is it encourages people to do things out in the open. If you could delete public, who's going to really want to use it? No, if you can delete public.
I just deleted it.
Everybody's gonna want
I just
to use
deleted it.
Okay,
You can't do it.
all right. So when you delete it, it has a tendency to get people who want to use it for bad purposes to do it. So last year when we were playing around on this, looking at YouTube videos that were live, there was a number of them like in the Middle East or Africa, people just talking about overthrowing the country, you know, whatever. That's a thing that you can do. If it's public, it's going to tend to decrease that because that would mean that somebody in law enforcement could be watching it too. And if you knew somebody in law enforcement was going to be watching, you probably wouldn't be saying things that would get you arrested.
For fireworks.
But if you can now erase public from it, now erase public, and you know the people that are going to use it, a lot more people who are going to use it for bad things. Okay, so we've got a couple minutes left. What we want to make sure everybody does before the end of tomorrow is to set up a Hangout on air. How do we set up a Hangout on air?
You go to the left side, the Hangout icon,
Hang out on there.
and then
Okay, so we go to our Google Plus homepage,
right,
and then what?
and go over.
Hover on home,
Yeah,
go down to Hangouts,
Down the and then it should be somewhere that
Scroll down to start a hangout on there.
on Google.
Okay.
You good, Damien?
scroll down to start a Hangout on air,
Blue.
click on that,
Click on that.
and then what?
You got to name it.
On the next slide, you know, where you go down with communities and circles are and all that, and then
Okay, and then you just fill in the question, right?
icon.
The little comment.
Not a perfect or your circle.
When you put,
Okay, and then you choose where you want it to go, right?
yeah,
And then you do what if you want to start it?
Three times.
right here.
Okay, let's just say you leave it as now.
Takes the box where
Okay, so you then push start, right? Or you push share.
Share.
How do you make it private?
Okay, so push share, then what happens?
go into it and you start setting it up, it asks you,
that, and then you get a box that looks like this, right?
it asks like, first you get the title, then you get the date,
Oh, yeah,
what
like
time
the
you want
video.
to start
The
and stuff, and then the date is right there. Yeah, right, and then that's where you start, like right there. You give the title, start at the top, date, time, stuff like that. And then I think that's where you can make it private or public right there.
And then you come to this, and it has details, who it's hosted by, details,
Right.
what time, any information, who's been invited. What? Okay, so you have to make sure you're properly configured.
Know if you can do it on your cell phone?
Yeah, you can.
On mine.
Okay?
And then actually do it then.
Before it started? Yeah. And then now you name it and all that.
And then that's what you do.
Put a description.
And that's it. Okay, it's break time. So we'll pick this up tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Ed.
Okay. Bye, everyone.